On the top of the device, we have 2 screws that we need to remove with a Torx wrench. 2 additional bolts that we need to remove. So we'll just use the same wrench. When you take it apart after this point, you are dealing with an exposed power supply and a cathode ray tube monitor. So if you do not have a proper understanding of how electronics works, do not dive into either of these devices because they can potentially shock you and they can electrocute you, meaning that you will die from electrocution.
So, despite the numerous signs telling me this was a bad idea, I decided to dive in and try and pimp out my 1986 Macintosh Plus. Something cracked. I don't know what. I was ignorant. Foolhardy, one might say. Even still, with all the warnings, I was a little nervous. But there was lots of cool stuff inside there, so I dove in. Like the signatures of all the people who worked on it. Who knew that was in the back of those cases? And the screen was so tiny. I originally thought I'd use a laptop screen, but it was way too big. So I measured the space and started looking for a tiny screen online. While waiting on the screen, I decided to reuse one of the boards inside. I tried soldering off the components, but then I thought, who am I trying to impress? And I just yeeted them off instead. From there, I went to put on my motherboard. I had to make some new holes so I could put mounting screws in the board. And then I attached the motherboard to those screws.
Ooh, I see.
Unfortunately, the metal frame didn't quite like that, so I had to cut it up a bit. And cutting metal, kind of intense. The next day, the screen arrived. I got busy taking it apart. Then, I took the back off an old picture frame to use as a support for the screen, a background, a frame, whatever. I cut out a place for the screen, and then I taped it on, because I'm a professional, tape. It's the breakfast of champions, or whatever. I headed over to Home Depot and bought a piece of clear plastic to use to put over my screen, so it'd be, like protected or whatever. I had to cut it down a bit, and then voila, I had my screen. From there, it was time to give her some power, so I put in my power supply. Things were already starting to get a little bit tight. I put an SSD hard drive on the bottom and plugged her in. Then I tried moving some things around. Honestly, I was just winging it as I went. Because you know what? Life's a highway, and I'm gonna ride it all night long. Once the hard drive had settled in, I took a little power strip I got at the dollar store and started plugging things in. I also got this weird cord I didn't know existed to go to the back of my computer so I could plug it all in with one cord. Then I had to make a little frame for it to stay put. Since my mother is an avid crafter, I used her hot glue gun to put that bad boy in its place. Then I grabbed the front of an old computer and started hacking away. My new Mac needed a power button, and it demanded a sacrifice. After cutting away, I wound up with a little power button. Actually, it was a reset button, but it would work. So I got out my handy dandy glue gun and put that sucker in. Then it was time to do some cable management. And finally, I put in the graphics card with a handy dandy extension cord the internet blessed me with. Space was really tight at this point, so I just kind of shoved it in there. After that, it was time to plug it in and try and shove that bun in the oven. I think that's a saying, right? Unfortunately, the motherboard was sticking out too much and hitting the case. I had a dilemma. A real pickle on my hands. But then I realized, desperate times call for desperate measures. So I got extreme. It was time to get the goose out of the caboose. Tell the fly goodbye. Put the apple, take the apple out of Snapple.
Oh, gosh, this was so much work. All right, here's all the stuff that I jam-packed into this bad boy. It's too much. I did too much. So now we're gonna see if we can fit it back in the case and turn this hush puppy on. And did I succeed, or did I spend all this time for nothing? Let's find out. No. Oh, frick, I was afraid of this. Okay, what's happening? It's hitting up against the motherboard. That makes me very sad. That doesn't necessarily mean it won't work, but it does mean it won't work with this here, which is fine. I think I have an idea. We're close. I can feel it. We're close. I super glued it on quite a bit. So now we're gonna see how strong that super glue actually is. Holy crap. The super glue I used is Gorilla Glue super glue. So it's not like your normal, and it does appear to be quite strong. There's a chance this might run into this metal thing, in which case I'll have to cut this metal thing, which I don't want to do. I really don't. All right, now that I've cut this metal piece out, hopefully, finally, it will be the moment of truth. Oh my gosh. Oh, there it is. There it is. It's working. So, what do I do now that I have the famed white screen of death? Well, one thing I do know is that the power button works. And that is pretty cool, because I just literally cut it out of another computer. It wasn't even a power button, it was a reset button. Come on, baby. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's huge. Because that is plugged in back here. So what that means is it's probably the monitor that's not working. So I just have to fix the monitor and we're Gucci. Honestly, it's very possible. It's just not on the right input, which would be kind of hilarious considering I spent the past 4 hours trying to unscrew the screws. But you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Plus minus AV. Cool. Oh, frick. This got unplugged. What is this? Wire right here. And it was, boop, popped out. Now, the moment of truth. Wow, that looks so bad. All right, it is the next day. After spending all that time trying to get those stripped screws out, I went to bed. And now that this actually works, I'm gonna try and get this squared away somewhere in there.
It worked perfectly. A fully functional beast of a machine inside a 1986 Mac Plus with a 9-inch screen. Was it smart? No. Was it useful? No. Was it prudent? Of course not. But by gosh, I did it. The only thing left to do was to show it to somebody who actually lived in 1986.
What is this? Dude, this is really cool. It's just so weird, man. 1986. Mm-hmm. I missed the floppies. So can I double click on Chrome? No frickin' way.
Where we dropping, boys?
Of course I played Fortnite on it.
That's alright. I'm playing on a Mac from the 1980s, so I might not be great either.
It looked terrible. The screen was so dark, I could barely see anything. But who cares? I can now assert my dominance as the ultimate hipster using a Mac Classic in 2020. Bill Gates, I'm coming for your job, dude. Thank you for watching. If you didn't like the video, please don't forget to tell me I'm a bad person in the comments below. Bye.